Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. We are now in season 4 of our program with over 1,300 videos that are viewed and listened to around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished retailer from the UAE, Mr. Ritesh Mohan. Ritesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Ashutosh. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you on your channel, and thank you for reaching out to me. And it's my pleasure to be with you today, sir.
Thank you so much. Ritesh, in addition to being a retailer, is an author, and he's an author of 2 books, which are titled Simplifying Retail and his more recently published book, How to Be a Shark Salesman. So, Ritesh, let's first talk to you a little bit about retail, and then we'll come to your books.
Sure.
You are in Dubai, which is the mecca of retail, if I can use that term. What are some of the major challenges the brick and mortar retailers are facing now?
That's a good question to start with, Ashutosh, sir. The main challenges that retail sector is facing is the new manifestation of retail, that is e-commerce.
Correct.
Thanks to pandemic COVID-19, which has most of the major countries across the world was under lockdown, and a lot of it has impacted the consumer behavior and their shopping patterns, their preferences. So plus moreover, e-commerce has something called convenience attached to it, so people have changed their buying habit or shopping habits. So that's one of the biggest challenges which retailer today is facing. But as they say, there is always a 2 sides of a same coin. One man's loss is another man's gain. So when it happens, I would say a gain for a retailer during pandemic has been the adoption of omni-channel, adoption of digital platform. Previously, digital transformation word was unknown in a retail sector. Yes, brands were moving towards e-commerce, but it was not their priority. It was just a 3% or 5% or a 10% to the overall turnover. But when pandemic hit and they saw the physical has come to zero, only way to sustain and stay afloat was going online. And that has there's a statistics by Shopify, which is one of the e-commerce platforms. They said within 2020 and 2021, in 1 year's gap, they had registered a growth, double-digit growth. They had doubled up their number of things, which signifies that today the retail sector, which is one of the oldest sector in the entire ecosystem known to mankind. So at least the retailers have acknowledged that staying agile, embracing the new technology is the only way forward.
Fascinating. Great response. My next question to you is on people. I remember when I was building Guardian, and maybe it is different in Dubai, but one of the biggest challenges we faced, and we had 1,200 employees, the problem was, how do we've spent a lot of money on training them, but we couldn't retain them. So what goes into building and retaining a great team in retail?
As they say, I would say a change in mindset is definitely required,
Right.
both from the basically from the employer side. And most of you might have seen, it's a terminology which is used by HR and accountants and or finance people, something called head count. Change this head count to something called heart count.
Okay.
So the moment you start reaching with your mission, with your vision and policy that you want to take your company forward, if you are able to reach the heart of your employees, then that's where the change will start happening.
Okay.
It should not be, as they say in my book, which I had written in sales, there's something called a change or a transformation from a transactional perspective to something called relationship perspective.
Okay.
So employership should not be only merely transactional. So it has to become, you have to, as they say, one of the reminds me of advertisement in India of Bajaj automobiles, Hamara Bajaj. You know, that connect which that two words had with the masses, and the brand still goes strong.
Well said.
And so Dil Ka Rishta is what is important. And the day a corporate or a organization starts establishing this particular connect with their employees, it can be not through incentives. Yes, you can show the carrot and make the people motivate, but in management jargons we had talked about Robert Kaplan's balance scorecard. The whole objective, the bottom line of that scorecard was to align different functions of the business with a common corporate goal or a vision. Now, but what lacks is that this theory remained into papers, into files, and got submerged in under somewhere in the cupboard. Whereas in practical, if you if say a shop manager, it starts with the shop manager.
Correct.
If shop manager starts motivating every day, his team, first thing in the morning, something like 2-minute coffee session or something, that's how it builds it up. Then it starts building the communication. It all starts with the communication. If your communication with your subordinates, with your team members is perfect, there is a the SOPs are being followed, your customers will be happy, and ultimately your bottom line will show positivity.
Wonderful.
And so that's what the people are the core of any business, and retail is not any different at all. It's
Well
a
said.
people business.
Well said. And, Ritesh, you've seen the brick and mortar business, and I'm sure you're very deeply engaged with the digital marketing or the e-commerce platforms. My question to you is, how are e-commerce platforms impacting brick and mortar retail? And what do you see as the future?
Okay. First of all, to answer the first part of the question is how it is impacting. If the statistics says that e-commerce still is only 12 to 14% of the entire retail turnover. So 86% or 87% still comes from physical brick and mortar. So, but e-commerce is growing at a double-digit kind of a growth rate. So, if that growth rate continues, then the shrinkage of physical retail or the share will shrink. So, the best, according to me, if you ask me, e-commerce is nothing but one of the manifestation of physical retail itself. It is kind of a channel of distribution, as we call it in our business, sales and distribution kind of a terminology. So any retailer should not, or any person or any should not perceive it as a challenge. E-commerce should be looked as a part of the business, and that's where the change in the mindset to being an omni-channel retailer comes into place. In fact, it is helping a lot of retailers. If you see future of retail, if you have asked as a part B of your question, my answer to that is, I'll take back to say around 25 years back, when in India, 24 hours news channels had started.
Correct.
And people were saying, who is going to read Times of India, or who is going to reach Hindustan Times? When you are being bombarded 24 hours with the news, who is going to read the newspaper, and newspaper will finish. Now, fast forward 25 years in 2022, both the mediums sustain.
Correct.
Both the medium remains, and both the mediums are thriving. So same thing, that's the future of retail. In fact, the retailers who are fast and intelligent enough to imbibe and embrace the new technology will thrive. When I say earlier, the departmental stores used to be like 30,000 square feet area. Now, with the help of technology, with the help of e-commerce, you need not have a big box kind of a retail concept. You need to there is a brand in US called Nordstrom. They have experimented very successfully their express model. So what they have created a smaller footprints of our stores concept, say around 2,000 square feet area, and they kept the fast moving collection, whereas the entire collection catalog has been uploaded on their e-commerce site.
Mm.
So you go to the Nordstrom, you will not find a huge 30,000 square feet area. You will see it only 2,000, but with very limited collection.
Well
The
said.
sales staff comes with the iPad, and
Mm.
if you want to browse more, they have large screens, touch screens in the store as well, and you
Mm.
place an order, and the orders get delivered to your
Well said.
store, or you can pick it up from your Nordstrom store. So what happens advantage from the financial perspective, your rent cost, which is approximately the biggest chunk for any physical retailer, comes down.
Mm.
Smaller format, so you are not holding any much inventory in your shop floor, but in your warehouse. So your warehouse becomes a fulfillment center. So it's ultimately, if you ask me, the retailers, the physical retailers have learned a technique from e-commerce called customer acquisition cost, or
Mm.
customer acquiring, how to
Mm.
acquire customer at
Mm.
minimal cost.
Fantastic. Yeah, well said. And it's very interesting. You gave the example of Nordstrom. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I spent a lot of time in the US and I saw Nordstrom stores and I saw how they have transitioned. I also saw some very interesting changes. Big brands like British India or Hagar, or there are many more, have actually shut down a lot of their stores, kept a signature store in big cities, and just moved online.
True, that's happening. In fact, but I also see, Mr. Ashutosh, the reverse trend happening. A
Hmm.
lot of e-commerce players are now opening
Bye-bye.
up a
Correct.
physical store.
Hmm.
This is because the customer acquiring cost after this, online has
Hmm.
gone up. Why it has gone up? Because thanks to Apple iOS 14 update, which stops the tracking or the privacy sort of
Hmm. Hmm.
implications have come there. So the your paper PPC campaigns, the cost have gone up. There is no more tracking, no more retargeting happening. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of challenges. So most of the retailers, e-commerce retailers,
Hmm.
have found physical retail as their next domain to sustain and thrive.
Yes.
So even in India, your Lenskart or Sugar Cosmetics, for that
Hmm.
example, are
Hmm.
D2C brands. They were native online, and they now are at more than 6,000 stores, I believe. I understand that Lenskart now has in India.
Correct.
So they have entered Middle East as well. So, and doing quite good. So the
Hmm.
whole business. So it's, according to me, the coming back to the your first question,
Yes.
e-commerce is just one of the channel of distribution, one of the
Hmm.
manifestation of retail.
Very interesting. My next question, Ritesh, is on technology. Um, how is technology changing retail?
Okay. Technology, see, there are so many things that which is coming into technology right now. Augmented reality, VR, we are talking about web 3.0 or metaverse.
Hmm.
Though it sounds very nice as a jargons, but the challenge lies in adopting it. The cost of adopting those technology is, suppose you want to create an your own e-commerce store or a physical store in a metaverse, say in a place like Decentraland or Decentraland or Roblox in metaverse. The cost of integration of something will make you poorer by at least $1 million kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
so that one, it's exactly like what in 1980s the cost of making one website used to go into
Absolutely.
$100,000. So
Yes.
yes, so that's one of the challenges which I believe over a period of time will come down.
Hmm.
How technology is changing retail is by bringing an element of experience into it, which today, if you ask me how the evolution of retail started, it
Hmm.
started as high street. We
Correct.
saw kirana shops, we
Hmm.
saw your high street retailers. It went into a mall, it evolved into the malls. So the people started going into the mall became more of a family leisure and
Hmm.
entertainment kind of a thing.
Hmm.
People used to go to the mall in the morning with the family, see their movies, favorite movie, have their lunch out, and evening come with with your shopping bags back home. So it was a whole day kind of a leisure activity for the family. It evolved into something called e-commerce. E-commerce gave us something called personalization, because thanks to everything that you can measure on a digital platform, you can personalize your targeting, you can personalize your communication, you can create personalized offers for the people. It went a further step further into called hyper personalization. So there are AI tools or machine learning tools that have retailers have now started implementing, thanks to SAP Commerce, or all the ERP, which has inbuilt artificial intelligence and machine learning system. Today, with hyper personalization, the retailer can not only predict the right levels of inventory, it can also tell what Ritesh is going to buy now and when and in what quantities. So that kind of purchase habit monitoring can be done at a personal level. So that kind of a thing. So of course CRM systems, everything were there, but it's now becoming more and more intelligent. Today, I mean, what I see future would be, you enter a store, and since you are highly visible on various social media, the scanners will scan your face and say Mr. Ashutosh Garg has now entered the store. Think one pop-up goes to the shop manager, say please go and welcome Mr. Ashutosh, and the shop manager comes and say, Mr. Ashutosh, welcome and thank you for shopping with us.
Very
Imagine that kind of experience. You will feel, you'll see the VVIP kind of a treatment. So future according to me would be more of face recognition, integrating with your central with your search engines on social media, who is this guy in the store, linking it back to your CRM system, saying that whether this particular face is a part of our member or a loyalty club, and what level of loyalty club is he at a gold level, is he a platinum level, what level, and then sending a message and customized offer to you on the spot.
Wow.
So this is going to be the future, where you are combining the social, which is a e-commerce kind of a thing, digital, with your physical, by for imparting experience to your customer. So this is this, though it sounds like the James Bond movies, but this technology is happening. The trials are taking place, and soon it will be a part of us.
Incredible. What a fantastic explanation you've given me about technology. Ritesh, now let's move to your books. Let me come to your latest book about how to be a shark salesman. Tell me about this book and what was your hypothesis when you wrote it?
Okay. I had to do to answer this question, Ashutosh sir. I started writing. I was not a writer. I started writing in 2017, just with writing a journal. My day, what I see in the market, being a salesperson, I used to write at my diary. Then I said, yeah, let me take it out to a blog. Then I started writing blog. I didn't form my own website by then. I used a free tool called blogspot.com. So I started writing on it. Couple of first articles which I wrote were terrible. My mother being my biggest critic, she being an English teacher, she read those and said, Ritesh, your grammar is pathetic. You need to improve. Now, how to improve is by reading books. So I started reading, and that became like an addiction. And today it is like, if I don't read 10-20 pages a day, I don't go to sleep. So that it became an addiction and started growing. So after writing 3-4 more articles, traction started happening. People say, yes, Ritesh, it's very good content, why don't you keep writing? So it became more of a habit over a period of time. That habit made my blog, which is retailritesh.com. I have written over 94 kind of articles pertaining to business and retail. And then those articles were started getting picked up by media, from Gulf News, Khaleej Time. They said, why don't you write for us? I said, okay, I'll write. So I started writing for them. And then suddenly in one of the events, in the seminars that I was participating in, a couple of people came, said, Ritesh, you have so much knowledge, why don't you write a book? I said, okay, that's a good idea. So let me write. That's how Simplifying Retail happened. Simplifying Retail, the first book was completely on retail. My experience of 24 years, what's happening in the market, how that objective of writing that book was, if somebody reads that book, can start a retail business next day. So it talks about buying, it talks about merchandise planning, it talks about visual merchandising, it talks about marketing, it talks about selecting a location. So entire gamut of retail, hence simplifying retail came in.
Wonderful.
Then I said, okay, it's like an addiction, you
Correct.
get addicted to coffee.
Correct.
So writing became an addiction to me. And second book is then when I was planning after the first book what to write next, I said, what are my core strengths? I've been a salesperson since 1999. So I told, okay, let me write my learnings from sale as a salesperson, how I have developed businesses, how I have achieved my targets, reached out to the maximum commission payout for a company from a company. So all those things. So I said, okay, let me write it in a structured manner. So hence I have written a second book which has 25 growth hacks, how to be a shark salesman. Shark word was inspired by Shark Tank series. And I said, because you have something, a concept called 1 minute elevator pitch.
Correct.
So each one of us, if you see, are selling. Employee is selling to his employer with his skills, with his time. Son is, or a child is selling to his parents, whether he's blackmailing them in terms of, I want chocolate if I do this kind of a thing. So each one, or even a business owner, Ashutosh, is selling to venture capitalists or investors or bankers to invest. So each one of us are in a selling business. So how you can convince a person, how you can do a persuasive selling, is my book talks about that. It talks about 25 hacks with 25 chapters. Each chapter is a different skill set based on my personal knowledge, what I have learned. So whether it is a relationship building, whether it is a community building, whether it's been more visible to make your personal brand kind of a thing. So today, if you ask me, the future of selling is more on a personal branding driven. So more visible you are, and I believe in one word which called familiarity breeds acceptance. So if people know you online, they accept you when you meet them face to face.
How wonderful. How wonderful. And my last question to you,
yes, sir.
For someone who has got such an amazing amount of experience, into so many different markets, this is for the very young people who are listening to our conversation. Ritesh, what would your advice be to young individuals starting off on their journey as corporate managers or entrepreneurs?
Okay. My advice, Ashutosh sir, my entrepreneurial journey, if you ask me, just only 2 months old.
Okay.
So I have just started on my own. With my own, I'm setting up a retail incubator system, kind of a platform in Dubai. And my learning, if you ask me, is or advice to the youngster is experiment, try, fail. Don't be shy from failing. Fail is evident. Failure is evident, I would say, but fail forward.
Okay.
Fail smart. It teaches you a lot. Get yourself skilled with the various new technologies, I will say soft skills more than hard skills. Anybody can teach you principles for a non-finance guys. You can learn a financial management. You can start looking at the balance sheet. You can read what a normal finance guy won't be able to dig out. You being coming from a fresh eyes can dig out the problem in a financial statement. So start learning not only the hard skills, but focus more on soft skills. When I say soft skills, your communication, your interpersonal skills which machine cannot copy.
Okay.
Which computers, the machine learning system, artificial intelligence cannot copy. What machines cannot copy today are the emotions. And sales or communication builds that emotional connect with your audience, with your customers. So try to focus and learn soft skills. This are not cannot be replaced by any technology, and these are the skills which will make you relevant in coming times. This would be my advice to the
Fantastic.
Younger generation.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Ritesh, on that note, I can only say that this has been such an amazing conversation. I have learned so many new things from you. Thank you for talking to me about your journey as a retailer. I learned about how technology is going to change, and what you painted as the future of retail using technology was so amazing. Thank you for also talking to me about your books, and how honestly you said that you wanted to start reading, and now that it's become like a passion for you and you're reading every day. I think that's such an important skill for every single person. And finally, thank you so much for your wonderful advice to young people. Thank you
Thank you,
again for
Ashutosh.
speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh sir. It was my honor, my pleasure to share a little bit of time with you. And I'm glad that if I can add some value to your audience, it would be it was my pleasure, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.